will be an interactive session. Er det riktig kamera? Kan du se?
Jeg ser deg, men...
Ja?
Ja.
Du kan flytte den så den ser bedre hvis du...
Nei, jeg ser bra ut.
Sånn?
Da kan jeg flytte den litt mer. Litt mørk, jeg vet ikke.
Okay.
Kita menuju pada ya. Itu kalau mother ke ada mother.
Så man i tvil. I have cats. Jeg tror hun skrudde opp den borterste nederste også. Den nederste rad, helt mot alteret. Nei, borterst, denne. Skrudde hun litt opp, kanskje 2 hakk opp.
6?
Ja, det er fint.
Er det greit nå?
Perfekt. Skal vi se. So, I was thinking today not to speak on just one verse, but to speak about this amazing book. Anyone heard about it? Gita Life by Kesha Maharaj, Swayam Bhagavan Kesha Maharaj. It's a summary of the Bhagavad Gita in acronyms. Anyone know what acronym is?
Take only the first letter of the word.
Yes. So let's say if we have a text and you're going to memorize it, and then you make some notes, and those first letters of the notes makes one word, so that you can just remember that word, and then you remember the whole text. So let's see if in the next 30-40 minutes we can remember the first 9 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. I have hope. Let's see. Let me just need to get online.
Ja, सही तरह से देखना बाद में हमें हेल्प चाहिए.
Okay. And I will also spend 5 minutes on Advaita Acharya at the end. Let me see here. I don't know if I will sing it, but maybe. Okay. Yes, so we'll quickly do Radha Madhava first. Can I have? I can try this Tibetan cartels. Jaya Radha Radha very short today. So, I joined this course called the Change Makers by Kesha Maharaj, and as my homework of next weekend, it is to know these 9 first acronyms. And I thought we can do it together. I also have to write an essay of 2,500 words, but I guess no one wants to do it for me. AI is not allowed. It's not allowed. I signed a contract. It's not allowed to use ChatGPT. So, who here know anything about, have heard about Bhagavad Gita, read the Bhagavad Gita, or just? Yes, I think most have heard or grew up hearing Bhagavad Gita. Maybe it's first time for you hearing about Bhagavad Gita, yes. So, Bhagavad Gita is like for those that practice the Sanatani Dharma, or also many call it Hinduism, but it's like the Quran or the Bible of that. It's a holy book. So this is like a super summary of that book. Let me put on glasses. So in this book, Gita Life, Kesha Maharaj, he helps us remember the Bhagavad Gita. Not by memorizing all the verses, which some do. They, practice, and then they can sing the whole 700 verses. But this is actually a book that helps us live the journey, chapter by chapter. So, chapter 1, I'll show you, because this book is amazing. And I'll just show you how it is. So it's written like this. There's a little introduction to each. There's a little introduction to each chapter, and then the next page is like this. So for the first chapter, I'll just read the introduction here. The spiritual journey, so the first is doubt, D-O-U-B-T, doubt. Observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. That's the chapter name, yeah? So the spiritual journey often starts with a doubt. Over the passage of our life, friends, family, society, and the media paint the perfect picture of success, and we subsequently build our future in determined pursuance of it. At a certain point, however, we begin to doubt whether that perfect life is achievable or will actually make us happy. We begin to question the conventional goals, aspirations, and measures of success that people unquestioningly follow. We wonder, could there be some deeper purpose to life? While this initial doubt usually brings some uncertainty and confusion, it also brings us to the start of our spiritual journey. It is this very doubt that Arjuna expresses in chapter 1 at the onset of this sacred conversation. So that was like the first chapter in just like a few sentences. So the first D in doubt, it's Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. Someone knows those names? Someone heard those names? Yeah. So we have Dhritarashtra, who's the king. We're now back in the time of Mahabharata when the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So Dhritarashtra is the king, the father, and Duryodhana is his son, which is, can we say, is a little bit evil-minded? Sketchy personality, can I say? Although he did go back to Godhead, but yes. So the D is for them, and I don't want to go too much into his history because I want to go through all of it. But so Dhritarashtra, he is blind, but not just physically blind. He's also blinded by greed. And Duryodhana, he has this mindset, which a lot of people also have today. Everything revolves about me and I, me and I, me and I, not the community. So this type of material entangled persons become oblivious to the ill effects of their actions. So the D is about those two. So the O in doubt is omnious results. So, let me see. Yeah, so when we hear in Bhagavad Gita, all the corn shells are sounding, Panchajanya, all this, all the corn shells of the different names, they all have different names, they sound. This is the omnious sound. It's like auspicious. So already here, before everything starts, we know it's going to come some good results. So omnious results, that's the O. U is uncertainty. And Arjuna, he develops this uncertainty. He's in a very difficult situation because on the other side of the war, he sees family, uncle, grandfather, everyone, and he's feeling very uncertain. So uncertainty, that's the U. And B, bewilderment. He's feeling very bewildered because at warfare, there's so much suffering. Why does he want to do this? Why should he go into this war? And he begins to lose his composure. What happened to Arjuna? What happened to him? He had something in his hand and he dropped. Someone remember what it is? What does it drop? Gandaiva, his bow. He's an archer. He's shaking so much. Yes, so much. He's so bewildered. What should I do? What should I do? So then, because he's bewildered because he lacks the understanding of his spiritual identity. So then T of doubt is the turning point. So Arjuna, he looks for immediate relief because he just wants to leave the battlefield. It's like, I can't be here. I need to go. It'd be cruel and heartless to kill so many soldiers, and even everything will just bring unhappiness, and he will lose his near and dear ones. And he said, oh, surely I will get very bad karma from doing this. It's like so many, But Krishna, he will soon impart his wisdom. So, the Gita does not open just with Krishna, but with his blind leadership, not his, but that blind leadership and misplaced ambition of Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra. So we have Arjuna, he enters the scene, he collapses emotionally. And to remember doubt, how do I get this down? Okay. So to remember, how do I get this away? Anyway, to have like a remember hook, to remember this one. Before wisdom comes doubt, and that's not failure, it's the beginning. So when life feels like DOUBT, the Gita has officially begun. So what is the D? Yeah. What is the O? Ominous results. Yes, ominous. And what's the U? Uncertainty. The B? Bewilderment. And the T? Turning point. Very good. I don't know how to get this. Yes. So the essence, we can say, is that spiritual life begins with honest confusion. Because we're like, why are we searching spiritual life? Because somehow in material life we're confused. We're like, what am I going to do with my life? And we search, we find some book, or okay. So, chapter 2. The acronyms for chapter 2 is Gita. So, I will read this. Contents of the Gita summarized. Chapter 2 is succinct. S-U-C-C-I-N-C-T? Succinct. Succinct overview of the Gita's philosophy. Arjuna approaches Krishna in humility and desperation, inviting Krishna to present the most fundamental truth of spiritual wisdom, the science of the soul. Krishna then explains the practical application of such wisdom and concludes by describing the symptoms of one who has fully internalized such truths. Krishna thus summarizes the spiritual journey from beginning to end. In actuality, there is no end to the spiritual journey because it's from this point that the real life begins. So, Gita. So it's very the verse. The chapter is called Gita. The contents of the Gita summarized, and the acronyms for this chapter is Gita. So it's not so difficult. G is for Guru.
I knew it.
So, what does Arjuna say? It's like, I need guidance. I don't know what to do. Yeah. So, please enlighten me. He's begging Krishna. So, Arjuna, he teaches us the first step in spiritual life, seeking help from an authentic guru who has mastered the spiritual art and embodies, that means they live what they teach. So the first is G for guru. And there's this saying, that one who accepts himself as a guru accepts a fool for a disciple. So even Krishna taught us that you need to have a guru to, come forward in spiritual life. So the I, identity. So the famous verse, this it's this where how you see the soul continuously wanders from boy to youth to old age, and true yogi is not bewildered by this. Yeah, so something like that. Paraphrasing, but. Dhira, is sober person. It's not bewildered by this. So, under identity, this is where Arjuna, he realizes, I'm not this body. He's realizing that this is, it's like, he's standing here, but okay, I'm not my body. Those on the other side of the battlefield, they're not their body either. This is just the mask they're wearing. So, but he is an eternal, indestructible spirit soul. We are spiritual beings on a human journey. So that's when he realized that's who we really are. So the T, two duties. Okay. So if we know our identity, we can clearly define our purpose in life. So Dharma loosely translates to duty, loosely. But in a deeper sense, it refers to intrinsic characteristic and qualities of something that cannot be avoided. For example, the dharma of sugar is sweet. The dharma of water is wet. So everything has a purpose. So on one hand, the embodied soul has a sva dharma, a worldly duties, which is what we have towards our families, our work, and our society. And on the other hand, the soul has Sanatani dharma, which is the eternal spiritual duty, which comprises one's relationship with God, with nature, and all spirit souls. That was the T, the two duties. Duties to society and family, and duties to our soul. So, and the A is Atmarama. So, one who learns this art of living elevates their consciousness and becomes an Atmarama. So, one who takes a guru, one who understands his identity, I'm a spirit soul, not his body, and one who realizes he has these two duties, Swadharma and Sanatani Dharma, he becomes Atmaram. So, Krishna explains that Atmaram is unaffected by happiness or distress, gain or loss, honor and dishonor. So transcending the dualities of this world, such a spiritualist rids himself of qualities such as fear, attachment and anger, and remains absorbed in spiritual joy and transcendental consciousness. So, Gita. Okay, what is G? What is I? What is T? What is A? Atmarama. Okay, what's chapter 1? What is, what is D? What is O? Ominous result. What is U? Uncertainty. What is B? Bewilderment, yeah. And T? Turning point. Okay. And then we have Gita. This is fun. Okay. Chapter 3, the acronym is 3, like Briksha, 3. So, Karma Yoga, that's the name of chapter 3. A tree produces many fruits, but selflessly offers them to others. In all seasons, the tree dutifully offers shade and shelter, regardless of mistreatment by man or animal. When a tree is cut, it grows back with determination, strength, and fresh vigor, ready to serve the world again. The life and qualities of the tree demonstrates the art of living and functioning in this world with grace, resilience, and deep selflessness. When we emulate these qualities and connect our daily work to divinity, it is known as Karma Yoga. This chapter thus echoes the famous biblical wisdom, be in the world but not of it. So, T-R-E-E. So the first T is Tyag. What does Tyag mean? Those that speak can know Sanskrit? Renunciation, yes. Arjuna, he wants to leave his duties as a kshatriya. He wants to renounce everything. He just wants to leave and abandon his duties. And he doesn't really see how he can live his day-to-day life and be spiritual. He doesn't understand how this is. They are just separate. And let's see here. Krishna, he explains that true renunciation does not entail a mere abandonment of external activities. True renunciation is to give up the mentality that one is the controller and enjoyer of these deeds. So by offering the results of one's daily work, money, knowledge, influence, and other such benefits in service to God, knowing that God is the ultimate enjoyer and controller, then we get genuine renunciation. So, T, Tyag, renunciation, Tyag. R, regulation. So, Krishna stresses that the real renunciate is the one who selflessly dedicates all his actions to God, activities to God. But more progressive than external renunciation is a step-by-step regulation which brings one to the internal renunciation. So we can first acknowledge the universal arrangement that provide all the necessities of life and regulate our activities to show gratitude. How can we regulate our life? Some things devotees do. Huh? Vratas, yes, we can like, which is happening on the altar now. What's happening there? Offering, yeah, then we offer our food to Krishna. This is also an regulation, you know, like we regulate. We don't just like eat anything we find everywhere. We regulate. We are vegetarians, and you know, such regulation of activity just selflessness and deep. And in Bhagavad Gita, it's described as yoga ladder, and that take the spiritual student to high consciousness through this ladder. So that's the T, Tyag, R, regulation, regulate ourselves, and the E is exemplary. Let me see here. So Karma Yoga is established as an ingenious process to work in the world. Connect everything to God, develop detachment and selflessness, and ultimately become fully conscious of God. But interestingly, even those perfected souls continue working in the world like everyone else. You know? So although they are eternally renounced, they continue functioning in the world for the sole purpose of setting an inspirational example for others to follow. So we can see many when they join Krishna consciousness, you know, they, especially like back in the days, like 70s and all, they just renounce everything. You know, they left family. I can never speak to you again. You know, like they're like totally renounced everything. But actually that real renunciation is not about that. Real renunciation is inside and what we are doing in our regulation. So being an exemplary is one of the most effective teaching tools we have. You know, walk your talk, practice what you preach, etc. Yes, that's the E, exemplary. And the second E is eternal enemy. So, let's see. So Arjuna, he knows that we may be intellectually convinced, but he's having this internal resolve to follow it through. Let me see. Okay, so Arjuna's question is, even when we know the right thing, why is it we so often act against our own will as if impelled by force? So even though we know what is right, we still feel the urge to do what's wrong. So that's the eternal enemy. So Krishna then exposes the eternal enemy of every single struggling soul in this world. And what is that?
Karma.
Yes. What does karma mean? Lust. Lust, lust, lust. We want more and more and more. So when we are infected by the strong urge of selfishness and me-centeredness mentality, we do irrational and unthinkable things to satisfy our desires, even when it causes to harm ourselves and others. And it diverts us from what actually we seek the most, what the soul seeks the most. And yesterday I was in an online class with Kesha Maharaj, and it was like putting people on the spot. They were reciting, and then he said like, I am a professor and I'm asking you this question. And he was like giving different settings, and he said like to one person, you have to answer this question. Why? Why is there war in the world? And how can you reply that question from Bhagavad Gita? And the answer is like, there is so much lust and greed. You know, this is the cause of war. So much, I want your country, give me that country. I want Greenland, give me Greenland. It's like there's so much lust and greed and desire to take what is not yours. So, eternal enemy, lust. Okay, so chapter 3, tree. T, tyag, renunciation. R, regulation. E, exemplary. E, eternal enemy. You have very good memory. Very, very good memory. So, okay, number 4. We are running through the Bhagavad Gita. So the name of chapter 4 is called Transcendental Knowledge. And the acronym for this is EARS. EARS. Okay. Spiritual knowledge is known as Shruti, that which is heard. We have, right? Shruti, hearing. Shravanam, kirtanam, Shravanam, Shruti, that which is heard. In bygone ages, people would hear such knowledge, immediately remember it, assimilate it, and flawlessly communicate it to the next person with clarity and accuracy. From guru to disciple, the knowledge passed through many generations. Chapter 4 is entitled Transcendental Knowledge, since this wisdom empowers one to establish their divine connection with God. The famous Vedic aphorism thus encourages, see God through the ears rather than the eyes. Ears. There's a picture of a big elephant ear. So, E, eternal education. So, well, we can kind of think, right? It's eternal education. It is so much knowledge in this book. But Krishna, he explains how the educational system, the eternal educational system, was originally set by him. And in the system perpetuates in the universe through qualified and saintly teachers who impart spiritual knowledge in the masses in a dynamic, relevant, and practical way. And this type of education is supposed to help us to reawaken our relationship with God. And as the creator and maintainer, Krishna periodically appears in the world to re-inject spirituality, remove materialistic influences, and re-establish the ultimate purpose of the creation. So eternal education. A in ears. Accurate application. So most people, they know something about God and religion, but their concepts may often be hazy and confused. So when transcendental knowledge is received through the eternal education system, it has to be then applied accurately. So in 3 verses, Krishna clears up the 3 common misapplications of philosophy. Verse 11 addresses the misconception that all spiritual paths lead to the same destination. Krishna, he explains that while there is unity in diversity, there is also different gradation of spiritual elevation. Verse 12 addresses the misconception that Vedic scriptures talk of polytheism and the worship of many gods. But Krishna clarifies that while there are various universal controllers, there's ultimately just one God. And in verse 13, he addresses the misconception that the caste system we see in India today is unfair and exploitative. And he establishes the true purpose and criteria of such a social stratification. So that's A, accurate application of the knowledge. R, removing reaction. So, in addition to clearing up philosophical doubts, transcendental knowledge also helps us to clear up the karmic bank balance. So karma is this universal law of nature. For every action, there is a reaction. Yes. So, while bad karma is obviously undesirable, the Gita teaches that even good karma should be avoided because it also binds you to material existence. So, but beyond good and bad, what do we have then? Karma, yes. And we also have sattva, goodness, right? But it's not... one time I asked a monk in Denmark, when I joined Krishna consciousness, I asked him, don't you get so much good karma for doing all these good things? You know, like you give people food, you do all this service, and you help so many people. And he's like, I'm not doing anything. I offer everything to Krishna. He only owned, the clothes on his body, basically. So this is mindset. So beyond good and bad are the activities performed for a spiritual objective, and those actions, they don't give either good karma or bad karma, and it's known as akarma. So removing reactions. S in ears are sacrifice. So in order to acquire, understand, and internalize transcendental knowledge, one must make a tangible sacrifice. In other words, our intellectual faculties in and of themselves are insufficient in making us truly knowledgeable. Transcendental knowledge is a gift that we receive. We can only know it through what we become. So sacrifices helps us refine one's character so that we become suitable, respectable to hold this valuable wisdom. And one of the biggest sacrifices is to relinquish our pride by humbly submitting ourselves before an authentic guru. Heavy. So, ears. E, eternal education. A, accurate application. R, removing reactions. Karma, removing actions. And the S is Sacrifice. Sacrifice. Okay. Remember the three first? What's D? Doubt. What is D? Dhritarashtra Duryodhana. What is O? Omnious results. Yeah. What is U? Uncertainty. B? Bewilderment. T? Turning point. Yes. Okay. And then we have chapter 2, Gita. G? Guru. I? Identity. T? I have to. T was two duties. Yes. Yeah. Svadharma and Sanatani Dharma, right? Yeah. And Atmaram? Oh no, Atmaram. So yes, we become Atmaram, yeah. And then chapter 3, Tyag, yeah. R, what is that? Regulation. E, exemplary. And the other E? Eternal enemy, yes. And then the fourth, ears, eternal education, accurate application, R, removing reactions, S, sacrifice. Okay, we are already in chapter 5. The chapter 5 is step. Okay. The real title of the chapter is called Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. We are active beings constantly making plans for the future. Our thoughts become our actions. Repeated actions form habits. Those habits make up our character, and that character determines our destiny. As Mark Twain famously commented, we are not human beings on a spiritual journey, but rather we are spiritual beings on a human journey. Every journey starts with a step, and in chapter 5, Krishna explains how to take steps in the right direction. There are steps leading to further entanglement in worldly difficulties, but there are also steps leading to a life of liberation, freedom, and spiritual tranquility. The choice is ours. Okay. S. Stay in the world. So Arjuna, he's still confused. Despite Krishna's explanations, in chapter 3, Arjuna still thinks that dutiful work and detachment from entanglement, they are two separate parts. He thinks it's not possible. I cannot renounce and still be a kshatriya. It's not possible for him. So, but Krishna, he again tells him that one who works in spiritual consciousness is automatically a renunciant. So if one engages in respectable work, offering the results to God, and all while remaining alert to the spiritual goals in life, then such work becomes worship. Okay. Just as a lotus leaf, a lotus flower, it's surrounded by water, but it's always drying. So just like that, a karma yogi stays in the world, but remains untouched by material influence. That's the S, stay in the world. T, the three doers. So, while functioning in this world, one can easily fall into the illusion that we are the director and controller. I'm the boss, yay. But in reality, Krishna, he explains that the three doers are involved in any activity. The individual soul, the super soul, and material nature. What to speak of controlling the results of our activities? We are barely in control of our own physical and mental faculties in which we perform those activities. So the individual soul, it can only desire. And that desire is sanctioned by God, who is in your heart as the super soul. So once sanctioned, the material nature arranges all the necessary facilities to perform that activity. Just as a child lacks the ability to ride a bike, but can still pretend to do so with the help of the helping wheels, the stabilizers. In this world, the individual soul is constantly supported by the super soul in the heart, who provides all the knowledge, inspiration, and facilities to function. So it's the three doers: soul, super soul, nature. Okay. E, equal vision. So, since the super soul is in every living entity, one who has equal vision, is like an advanced spiritualist, is able to see everyone as a soul, a tree, an animal, human. You see everyone as a temple of God. It's just a vehicle, it's just a body. So the spiritualist is free from racism, nationalism, ageism, and sexism, but also speciesism. So why we don't kill animals? They are also, their body is also temple of God. So equal vision, see everyone equally. And then the P step, peace formula. So, in touch with the eternal reality, one understands the temporary nature of our stay in this world. We come into this world with nothing, and we leave with nothing. And to the extent that we develop a sense of detachment, understanding the Supreme Lord to be the proprietor, and ourselves as simply caretakers, to that extent we can experience a sense of peace within. So it's the peace. This inner peace can also bring by a local peace. A community of individuals who are free from attachment, envy, and greed. That's actually what this world really means. So peace. Step S is stay in this world. And then there is the three doers, and the E, equal vision, and peace. P for peace. Okay. We are already in chapter 6. And chapter 6 acronyms are easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So, but in Bhagavad Gita, the chapter is called Dhyan. What does Dhyan mean? Knowledge, yeah? Dhyan, like mental, yeah. So in the previous chapter, Krishna briefly mentioned Ashtanga Yoga, the arduous regime of an ascetic yogi. In the present day, millions of people practice some isolated elements of this path, Hatha Yoga and Pranayama, to achieve physical and emotional well-being. In chapter 6, however, the path of Ashtanga Yoga is explained in its entirety. Krishna's purpose in discussing the 8-step path is primarily to establish its impracticality in the endeavor towards spiritual perfection. In an age surcharged with temptation, disturbance, and spiritual weakness, the easiest and most advanced path of self-realization is Bhakti Yoga. Easy. So E, enemy or friend. So, if those have read Bhagavad Gita, we often remember this, like the mind is either your best friend or your worst enemy. That's what I think about when I hear this enemy or friend. E for enemy and friend. So, let's see here. Yeah. As spiritual beings, if we are able to appropriately direct the mind, it acts as a friend which supports and empowers us in the progressive journey of life. If not, the mind can deviate, discourage, and damage us. From day to day, from moment to moment, it can operate as the unseen enemy within. So, to be successful in any sphere of life, one must learn the art of mental tranquility. We can let the mind rule our life, or we can try to befriend the mind, you know. Drawing the mind in, chanting, doing all these nice things. So that's the E, enemy or friend. A is Ashtanga Yoga. So, one way to control the mind is through the process of Ashtanga Yoga. For those that have a little bit knowledge about yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, it's 8 paths, Ashta, and it's a very, very, very long process, which is basic. It is impossible in Kali Yuga. Foremost, yes. But yes, for most people. But to practice, many of them, you know, dhyana yoga, meditation, and so Krishna, he explains how the ancient path was practiced in bygone ages. You know? Because we live like maximum like around 100 years, but they used to live in 1,000 years and 10,000 years. So of course, it was very easy to practice them. You had longer time. But for us to master this in such a short time. So, but Ashtanga Yoga, living in seclusion, practicing celibacy under strict regulation of eating and sleeping, the yogi would sit in perfect erect position, focusing the consciousness on the super soul within. You know? Totally dhira, you know, focused. And also, the goal is samadhi. So Arjuna, he says, you know, he's a kshatriya, he says like, this is impractical, and it's unendurable. You know, who can do this? To discipline the mind is more difficult than disciplining the wind. He says, actually, it's easier to control the wind than the mind. So, Krishna, he reasserts that disciplining the mind is essential and possible, providing one has the appropriate spiritual practice and discipline. Okay, that was A, Ashtanga Yoga. S, success and failure. So hearing about all this difficulty of Ashtanga Yoga, Arjuna starts to doubt himself. You know, again, he has a lot of doubt, this Arjuna. So what happens if one takes to this, you know, process faithfully, but later he falls down? He cannot commit. He cannot commit. He falls from his practice. What happens? You know? Arjuna, he's very concerned about this unsuccessful spiritualist. And what is he going to do? You know? But Krishna, he says, he allies that all such fears by explaining that the eternal benefit of any spiritual endeavor, it stays with you. Even if you don't come to the perfect stage, it always stays with you. So success and failure. So if we don't complete our spiritual journey in this lifetime, in one lifetime, we can carry on in the next one. Okay. Why? In easy is yogi. So after summarizing the arduous process of dhyana yoga and ashtanga yoga, the chapter concludes with a little bit of hope. Because the perfection of all yoga systems is to help the individual become fully conscious of God at all times. So while every yoga system is certainly beneficial, the most advanced, efficient, and easiest path is known as Bhakti Yoga, yoga of devotion. So in this time and age that we are in now, Bhakti Yoga is a very easy process. And the main process is mantra meditation, chanting the names of God, which is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, it is easy, chapter 6. Enemy or friend? E. A for Ashtanga. S for success and failure. Y for yogi. Do we remember the other 5 before? Okay. Can you say the doubt?
Dhritarashtra, uncertain, Duryodhana,
Yeah.
uncertain outcome,
Omnius,
Ominous results,
Huh?
uncertainty,
Huh?
and
Bewilderment? Yes, yes.
Enter.
Turning point, yes. Turning point, yes. And who wants to say number 2, Gita? G for Guru, I for identity, T for two duties, A for Atmaram. You took notes. Chapter 3, 3. T. Cha, yeah, renunciation. R for regulation, yeah. E for exemplary. E, eternal enemy. Okay. And chapter 4, ears. Okay. E for eternal education. A for accurate application. R for removing reactions. S for sacrifice. Okay. 5, step. First, we have to not walk away, but we have to stay in this world. And then there are the 3 doers, yes. What were the 3 doers?
Super soul, ego, material.
Yeah, soul, super soul, and nature. Yeah. And then we have E, equal vision, and P, peace. Okay, then it was easy. Enemy or friend, yeah. And then A, 8 steps. Ashtanga yoga. S, success or failure, and Y, yogi. Chapter 7. We just have 3 left. Okay. Chapter 7 is head. H-E-A-D. So the chapter in Bhagavad Gita is called Knowledge of the Absolute. Whether it's a holiday destination, the choice of university or for further studies, or the restaurant for the next week's party, most things in life require some research. While we value our gut feelings, we simultaneously utilize our intelligence and exercise discrimination. The same goes for spirituality. It is not simply an emotional feeling or practice. It requires intelligent research and information gathering. It is an affair of the head and the heart. Einstein once stated that religious practice without philosophy was simply sentimental, and the more acute situation, downright fanatic. In chapter 7, entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, we'll learn key philosophical truths which instill confidence and conviction in the path of devotion to Krishna. So, H. Hearing, yes. So, if we simply begin by hearing, studying, and understanding God in depth and detail, then the prospect of finding Him is possible. So, He may be closer than we think, but without the necessary information, we will not know. We will never know how close actually God is. He's in our heart, right? So actually, this is without hearing, we may not know this. For example, if you wanted to identify your father, the most practical way would be to ask your mother. But you could also have a DNA test, But and also, if you wanted to find out what they were showing on NRK tonight, you find a TV guide. So you find some place where you can hear about it. So in these first verses, it's explained that it's childish and irrational to solely depend on our sensory experience. So we should accept a higher authority, which we hear from. Okay. E is everywhere. So By hearing from authorized spiritual sources, one can acquire absolute knowledge of divinity. So Krishna, he cites this beautiful analogy of pearl necklace. So the pearls, they're fixed in a perfect pattern, arranged as a beautiful necklace through the thread, the essential binding factor. It remains completely invisible. Actually, you cannot see, the one that goes through the beads. But similarly, God, he designs, creates, and sustains the complex workings of the universe. But actually, we cannot see. We don't see God's hand in everything. So, but Krishna is everywhere. He even explains how he is within every thing in creation, taste of water, light of the sun, and the ability in man, and the sound, I am Om, etc. All these verses where Krishna explains, I am this of the mountains, I'm the Himalayas. So we can learn how to see God everywhere. Okay, so that's the E. So A is accept or reject. So if God can be perceived everywhere and his existence is so strikingly obvious, why is there like a wholesale in denying him? Why are we just denying God when we can see him everywhere? So Krishna, he endows each individual with the free will to fly their own plane. And he also describes how there are 4 types of people who reject God, and there's 4 type of people who accept God. So only a rare soul is able to approach God without ulterior motive. So accept or reject. D is demigod, head, H-E-A-D, head. D is demigods. So some worship God, but others reject him. In between, however, we have those who worship his representatives, the demigod, and those who connect with its impersonal feature. So many, they just think God is some energy that floats around, right? It's impersonal feature. But those, it's described here in this chapter that those that worship demigods only get the material benefits. And those that worship the impersonal form of God, only that, they miss the opportunity of developing that close, loving relationship with God. So one must go further to gain accurate and precise understanding of God's identity. It's like if you were going to have an operation, someone's going to do surgery, like on your heart, you would want to know everything about that surgeon. Did he go to a bar the night before? What did he do? Is he living a good life? Is he like this or that? Did he study? Did he go to the university? It's just like some walla from the street, So, just like this, you want to really know Krishna. You want to know God. So, head. First is hearing, and then everywhere, and accept or reject, and demigods. Okay, very good. 8. Dead. That acronym for chapter 8 is dead. The final moment. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, as it is, the chapter name is Attaining the Supreme. It's a sign of sanity and wisdom if one takes time to contemplate their death. During early festivals, Latin Americans hang skulls in their houses to remind themselves. Yogis in India meditate on the banks of the Ganges, where open pyre funerals are being conducted. Although many would consider it morbid to contemplate death, it remains an uncomfortable reality of life. Nobody wants it, but everyone has to face it. The Bhagavad Gita directly addressed the subject of death, how to prepare for it, what happens at the fateful moment, and what lies beyond. The thought of death need not to be seen as an inconvenient truth, but rather the ultimate meditation to reinstate clarity and perspective into every aspect of our life. Very interesting. So, dead. D is again doubt. And throughout the whole Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is doubting and doubting and doubting and doubting. But Krishna, he welcomes the dialogue and he encouraged Arjuna to consider his answers and make his own decisions. So in this chapter, it starts with Arjuna's asking a lot of spiritual questions. And there's 8 questions, and Krishna, he answers all of them immediately. But the majority of the question in this chapter is the final question is, how can one attain a spiritual destination at the time of death? So doubt. E, end of life. And Krishna, he explains here how a person's thoughts at the time of death sums up their consciousness and aspirations cultivated throughout life. So many, they're thinking starting spiritual, I will practice spiritual life, like it's like after Varnaprastha, it's when you get old, then you have time, you're not working, you can just sit at home and then you can practice. The thought of many, instead of starting when you're young and creating the habits that will last throughout life. Because if you live a life where you never think about God throughout the day, how are you going to remember God on the last day when you're on the deathbed? So, this is what Krishna explains here. Yes, so like this, it's explained here. Like one may spend decades at school, but if they're lazy, inattentive, and apathic in their studies, they won't pass the final exam. So similarly, the success of life is measured on how well we perform the final exam, death. End of life. A, attaining the supreme. Yes. So this material world is simply a temporary university designed to dispense life lesson, where the soul is take on a body, go through so many lessons until we leave the body and it gets a new body. So a temporary university, very nice to think about. Because when we experience the frustration and emptiness of material life, we begin looking for something beyond. And let me see here. There are many painstaking ways in which spiritualists attempt to attain the supreme destination, but if they are indeed successful, they will never return to the temporary world again. So if you follow the path, you can attain the supreme. D is for devotion. So many spiritual practices have been explained in the different previous chapters, but Krishna, he concludes by outlining the most effective process to attain the supreme, which is bhakti yoga, the path of active service to God in a mood of devotion. It's explained as the most evolved spiritual path. Okay. So through bhakti yoga, anyone can experience genuine spiritual connection very quickly. Okay, so head. Not head, dead. My head is almost dead. Dead. So dead is like doubt. Okay. E, end of life. A, attaining the supreme. Okay. D is devotion. Not money, but chanting this mudra. Devotion. Okay. Last of this first 9, because there's 18 chapters, so the last is this 9. The acronym is King. So, and the chapter in Bhagavad Gita is called The Most Confidential Knowledge. Valuable things are generally not openly exposed. Pearls are hidden within a shell. Royalty is surrounded by an entourage. And in the same way, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is nestled in the middle of the conversation, the 9th chapter. Here, Krishna outlines the king of all knowledge and the most secret of all secrets. He explains the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, guiding us to that which will fulfill us in the deepest core of our heart. Okay, so the K in king is knowledge. So there is a notion that belief in God is intellectually immature or philosophically naive. You know, some things like, what, you believe in God? What, you do that? Are you a kid? You know, like they think like that's not that's naive. But through logical and rational analysis of the, you know, how amazing this universe is engineered, you know, the creation, there must be some conscious intelligence behind it. You know, if you really sit and think about it, you know, it's like nothing created all of this. Nah. So to suggest this, it is not being knowledgeable. So Krishna, he explains that knowledge is states specific. One must be non-envious and faithful to understand it. Faith is not opposed to knowledge, but is actually a prerequisite for receiving it. So if you don't have faith, so let's say you're going to study something in university, but you don't have faith, this study won't give me anything. You're not going to, understand anything. But if you think that, okay, by studying this, I will learn this and this and this and this, you will also receive it. So K for knowledge. I is for inconceivable relationships. So it's not so straightforward to accepting all this truth, all the knowledge, but just as a child is conceived inside the womb of a mother, the idea is conceived within the mind, So God's, it seems like God's activities and relationships are inconceivable, but actually here in this part of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he explains how he begins to impart knowledge of his inconceivable relationships within the universe and all living entities. And he says that this knowledge gives an indication of the unfathomable nature of divinity, and it exposes our inability to comprehend such matters using mundane logic and reason. So actually we need to have faith. You cannot just like logically understand everything. So inconceivable relationships. N is non-worship. So even after hearing so much about God, still so many, they misunderstand him. Because Krishna appears in a human-like form. Some think that he's just an ordinary being. How can he be God if he is in a normal body like us? But others believe that God manifests innumerable form, represented by the various demigods, each of them is worthy of worship. But some, and others, they cannot even perceive of anything beyond this universe. And therefore they think that the cosmos is what we should worship. But all such persons, even if you believe any of them, they sidestep the worship of the Supreme Lord. But actually, and it is the Supreme Lord that you can have a face-to-face relationship with. So it's not all paths that lead to the same destination, but rather that Krishna awards different results based on the motivation and understanding behind one's worship. So if you worship one thing, you get one thing, right? But if you worship Krishna, it's like you have a beautiful plant, and you can go and spray water on each leaf. But if you water the roots, the whole tree and the whole flower will flourish. So that's the king. K was knowledge. I is inconceivable relationship. N is non-worship, and the G, oh, we didn't take the G. We skipped it. Glories of Bhakti. Kim. We need a G. King. Glories of Bhakti. So, of course, this is where he glorifies the most personal form of God to be the highest and most complete manifestation of the Supreme. So, to get into a good university, you need higher grades. To buy a bigger house, you need greater funds. Similarly, to approach God is in the most intimate and personal way, one requires the highest qualification, complete purity of consciousness without a tinge of selfish motivation. So Krishna, he explains here in this chapter that such purity is categorized by complete immersion of body, mind, and words in selfless devotional service, hour after hour, day after day, year after year. This is Krishna consciousness. And it's the perfectional climax of the Bhagavad Gita here. It's like the after ninth chapter, it's turning. So, king, it was knowledge, inconceivable relationship, non-worship, and glories of bhakti. That was the first chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Does someone remember them? All of them? Some? Should we go through? Okay. I need to have cheat sheet. This is your exam. Chapter 1. Doubts. D. Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. O. Ominous result. U. Uncertainty. B. Bewilderment. T. Turning point. Doubts. Yes. Chapter 2. Gita. G for Guru. I for identity. T for two duties. Swadharma, Sanatani Dharma. Yeah. A, if you follow all this, you become Atmaram. Gita. Okay, 3. 3. 3. Tyag, yeah, renunciation. R, regulation. E, exemplary. Perfect. Yeah, exemplary. E, so eternal enemy. Yeah, eternal enemy. 3. Okay. 4, ears. Okay. E, eternal education. A, accurate application. Wow, she has such good memory over there. R, removing reactions. S, sacrifice. Ears. Chapter 5. Step. S, stay in this world. T, 3 doers. E, equal vision. P, peace. Step. Okay, 6. Easy. Easy peasy. Okay. Training the mind. E, enemy or friend. Yes. A, Ashtanga Yoga. I was wondering how I'm going to show that. I was like, oh. Yes. S, success or failure. Yes. Y, yogi. Easy. 7, head. Hearing. H, hearing. E, everywhere. A, accept or reject. D, demigods. Demigods. I was like 33 million. I don't know how to show that, but yes. And then we have 8, death. The final moment. You know about that. Yeah. So Arjuna, he has a lot of doubt. D, doubt. And E, end of life. A, attaining the supreme. D, devotion. Dead. And then chapter 9, king. crown, the heart of the Gita. So it's about knowledge and inconceivable relationships. And then it is non-worship. And then it is the ghee, glories of bhakti. Whee! Woohoo! I think you should hear something. So, from doubt to king. From doubt in the first to king in the ninth. So the Gita, it actually brings us from crisis to connection. And that's why it's not just the Bhagavad Gita, it's Gita life. So anyone wants to have this book? You know, yeah, we should order some and have it here in the temple. I will do that. Okay, so next part of the program. You were very, very, very patient. I spoke an hour. I'm so sorry for all your knees and my knees. Okay, so we will go to the next part of the program, which is Arti. And you can stand up, move your legs, dance. And I think, is Ragini ready? I think so. Hare Krishna! Srila Prabhupada ki jai!